I'm Brother Anthony Okoye from Nigeria and also in the province of Nigeria. I'm currently doing my master's degree program in psycho-spiritual counseling and therapy. I'm situated and being accommodated in the University of Marist in Nairobi, Kenya. So today is a very big and a great and exciting feast for all Marist. Currently we go by the name Marist of Champagne, but originally our founder intended us to be more of Mary, to be more like Mary, to be more in the way we live our life according to the model and the spirituality of Mary, and that was why he gave us the name the Little Brothers of Mary. But the church gave us the Marist Brothers of the schools, and then currently our institute, considering the recent development in the world as a global family, accommodating our lay Marists who are also there, our collaborators working with us in the mission and also sharing a kind of our spirituality. We now go by the name Marist of Champagne, but whichever one we are called, we are happy about it because it still tells us something of our identity. So today we celebrate our foundation day, which actually began in the year 1817 on the 2nd day of January, when Father Champagne moved in with two young boys, so to speak. Then they were Jean-Marie Grandjean and then Jean-Baptiste. He wanted them to be well schooled, to be well trained in the act of living what they preach by being mentors, models to the young people, and then inculcating in them the spirit of what I call the apostolic zeal, the apostolic spirit, because given the revolution at play in that time period, that contemporary era, there were no schools actually. Schools were limited, so you don't have even teachers who could teach, not to talk about catechists who could instruct the people, especially the young ones, on the faith. So Champagne had this vision, had this dream, having had that experience of the Montaigne, of a young man, a young boy who died, more or less we can say, in his very hands, although he ministered to a young boy, but later he was caught just to be informed that the boy has given up the ghost. And this was a boy who knew nothing about Christ, who had no primary or formal education. So he felt pained to push the button in him so as to kickstart what he had been dreaming of, people who will be dedicated solely to the ministry and the work of evangelization. People who will minister to young people, making Jesus known and loved amongst them in their lives, in their environment, in whatever they do. So that was actually the dream of Father Champagne, to make Jesus known and loved, especially among young people who do not know God, who do not know Christ, who do not know their faith, who do not know where they are going, who practically may not have the opportunity, because there could be others who have the opportunity to be schooled, to be catechized, to be taught, to be helped or nurtured in the faith. But there are also others who probably for one reason or the other may not have that same opportunity. So Champagne thought of them. He included them in his dreams. He was moved. And so with that experience, he moved them with those two young boys, as I've mentioned earlier, and then the institute, so to speak, started or began or commenced. So that is what we are celebrating today, and we are happy that we have a beginning, we have a foundation. We are not just, it was not an accident that we found ourselves where we are. No, there was a brain behind what we are doing today. There was a history, there was a beginning, there was a foundation, and that foundation is what we are actually celebrating. So for me, it is still a call for all to understand the ministry and the vocation of brothers or brotherhood in the Catholic Church. As religious, we have a distinct identity, but often than not, it is being confused with either the priesthood or the lay people who are just living their normal life as Christians, or I don't really know, but I think the understanding is still not there. Some think that the brothers are people who were not able or who are not able to make it to the priesthood. Those who are not able to withstand the seminary training or formation, those who are not academically sound or intellectually sound. But that's not actually the fact. That's not the reality. That's not the truth. The fact is, brothers are people who have undertaken, who decided by themselves, voluntarily committed their lives to preaching the good news, to the work of evangelization, by being the conscience of the church, by being prophets of our time, by being the face of Christ, so to speak, the hands, the legs, the face of Christ, the heart of Christ. That when you see a brother, you should be able to see something of Christ. He should remind you something of Christ, his gospel, his works, his life, what he stands for. That's actually the ministry or the vocation of the brotherhood. People say that's probably a stepping stone to the priesthood. That's not really true. That's not what and who we are. Although we do the work of education, we minister to the young people and to others through formal education in schools, both primary, nursery, secondary, university education or levels. But primarily, what we have been called to do is to undertake the ministry of Christ by being brothers. When we talk about being a brother, it is not just in the religious life, because being a brother cuts across, like Matthew 23 verse 8. Jesus will tell his apostles, don't forget you are all brothers. So he is trying to talk about the relationship that exists, how one should live in this modern world. That's what the gospel is about. Being a brother to someone who has none. And to be a brother, what does it mean? We usually refer to Jesus as our brother. What does it mean? Jesus being our brother. He is close to us. He understands us. He listens to us. He will be there for us. He always considers our interests. He wants things to move. He wants us to grow. He wants us to progress. He wants us to journey on. So that's actually the idea that is connoted when we talk about being a brother. It is not necessarily limiting us, that we cannot transcend, we cannot go beyond, we cannot maybe become other things, not really. But it is just an undertaking, and I mean, a kind of an understanding that irrespective of who we are, we can still make ourselves available, especially to those who need us, to those who need someone to talk to those who need their voices to be heard, to those who may like to find or to have a place to lean on, or someone to lean on, someone who could help them, who could move them a bit up the ladder, someone who could understand them, someone who could listen to them, someone who could encourage them, someone who could let them know that they are loved by God, someone who could let them know that it is possible they can live a better life, someone who always reminds them of what they are supposed to do, of who they are and where they are going. So that is actually the idea that is conveyed, because many a time this is not clearly well stated or understood, and so people always say the brothers are those who teach, but there are other people who teach. Must you be a brother before you teach? Not necessarily. So that is part of, although it is part of our ministry, part of our apostolic work, part of our apostolate, so to speak, part of our mission, teaching, educating young people, but it's not really who we are. First and foremost, we have to become something before we are able to give something. So we become another Christ, so as to be able to extend that hands of fellowship towards other people. And so by extending it, we can either do it in the ministry of the school, sometimes we do it in social work, sometimes we do it through other means, maybe in terms of youth ministry, youth vocation. It could also be in the way we live our life. If we live amongst people, who are we to them? If we live amongst ourselves, who are we to our own brothers? If we live among our family members, who are we to them? If we live in the church, if we worship in the church, who are we? How do people see us? So we should be like another gospel to people just by the way we live our lives. So that is what actually is intended when Champagne decided to give the brothers, decided to found this congregation of the Marist Brothers of the Schools, or the Little Brothers of Mary. So he wanted us to live the spirit of Mary, who is simple, who is modest, who is humble, who is sensitive. And I think our rule of life really described her very well by saying that she's a woman with speckle in her eyes and dust on her feet. And I think that is what exactly every married brother should be. When we talk about having sparkles in our eyes, we are saying being sensitive, being able to perceive far, being able to have vision. And then when we talk about having dust on our feet, we should be able to go where the young people are, where anyone is, but most especially the young people who are underprivileged, who are at the periphery. So I think it is important to understand this. We are able to walk the miles with them. We are able to suffer with them. We are able to understand their context and see how to help them come out of it. So that is actually what we are celebrating. The beginning of all these that I have said, the beginning is what we are celebrating today. So we are happy, and I'm also privileged to be a member of this great family. I'm proud of who I am. I'm not shy of being a brother. So Cambrian Kamsan, I will always identify myself as Brother Anthony, and that's who I am, because it has helped me to live this life in a much more meaningful and experiential way. And I am encouraging all young people who have been misled in the past, thinking that when you become a brother, it means you cannot transcend to other way of maybe living, or maybe to other lifestyle or other vocation known in the Catholic Church. That when you are a brother, it means you don't have head, or you are not sound in such a way that you can complete your formation or training, or that you can become a priest. Not really. I encourage other young people who are willing to serve, who are willing to go the miles, to walk the miles, who are willing to let other people have life through them, to join the brothers, because there you still have everything that you need in life. Blessing the apostles of young people.